Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last session, we talked about basics of MVC architecture, and we also discussed about what is SAP UI5 framework, what are all the important components in libraries as part of SAP UI5 framework. In today's session, we will go ahead and discuss how can we create our first MVC application. Before we go ahead and do that, let's try to go ahead and see how can you create a view. So we will start first with a JavaScript view. What are all the different components of a JavaScript view in SAP UI5 and how the orchestration between the view and controller happens. How the instantiation takes place for different components when we create an MVC app. So guys, always when you start your application, the starting point is index.html. First of all, when you start your application, you created a SAP UI5 application. The starting point of that application is index.html file. That is the file which you use to begin or you will use to begin the application. And this index.html first of all loads the UI5 framework. That's already known to us. So SAP UI5 framework is now loaded. So let's see. We have got now the SAP UI5 framework here. And for simplicity right now, I will just show it in a different color. So let me just go ahead and change the color for this. So this is your SAP UI5 framework. Now what happens is you will be writing now a code to create the view object. Earlier in the script tag, you were directly writing the control like button and all. And now here you will be writing code to create the view object. So we got to create the view object here guys now. Okay. In the script tag, we will be creating the view object. What this view object does, this view object starts instantiating your view. So this view object basically it's like you are writing a command to SAP UI5 framework to tell SAP UI5 framework, hey UI5 framework, please go ahead and create my view object, because the SAP UI5 framework is giving you the view class. So you are telling the SAP UI5 framework to create view object. What UI5 framework does, it now goes and start creating your view object. So let's look at here. What is that which will be part of a view object? Whenever you see a view object, what is that it will contain? A view object. I'm talking here about JavaScript view. Guys, remember, this is right now in context of JavaScript view I'm talking. So JavaScript view, very first method what SAP UI5 does is SAP UI5 will go and try to find out a method called get controller name in the view. This is a method which SAP UI5 will talk to. This is a method which SAP UI5 will invoke, and this method should return only the address of the controller of this view. Okay, as I told you in the last session also, view and controller they both are friends and they both come together usually. So every view typically have one controller. Okay, now here what it will do, it will return the name of the controller for this view, or I would say not name, the address. Why address? We will see it in a minute. Okay, it will tell the UI5 what is the address of the controller. So the process begins by creating a view object. UI5 is invoked to create the view object, and now UI5 framework calls the first method of the view class called get controller name to create and get the controller name. Now this get controller name method gives the address of the controller. Where is your controller? Who is your controller? What is its address? That's what it gives. So once you receive this address of the controller, the second step SAP UI5 framework will go and create the object of the controller because it has now got the address. So you will have a controller. In this controller, you will have an on init method. On init method is nothing but it's again a function, and this function is called after the object is created. So what UI5 framework is doing, the first thing which UI5 framework did is it called the view. Step number one. I will write down the steps here, guys. So this is step number one. SAP UI5 framework has called the view and said, hey view, can you please tell me the address of your controller? The view returned the address of the controller. In the second step, it called the object or created the object of the controller. Okay. After creating the object of the controller, let's imagine it has created an object of the controller. I'm representing with the triangle. This is the object of the controller created. Once the object is created, it calls the init method of the controller. UI5 calls this method. So guys, it's like constructor of a class. When a constructor of a class gets called, it gets called once the object of the class is created. Similarly, once the object of the controller is created by UI5, UI5 framework will then call the constructor, this init method. Okay, this is the sequence of calls what's happening by UI5 framework. And now step 3. What UI5 does, UI5 will now call another method which is the view method. It's called create content method and pass this object which you have created here to the view. So what UI5 will do, UI5 framework will actually now pass this object what you created. So it will now pass this object what you created, what it has created for controller to this method. Third method of the view gets called. Method name is create content. And it will pass the controller object which it has created to this method. Is this flow clear? Anyone? Is this flow clear? What is happening when which method is getting called? Only right now. There are many other methods, not too many, but some more methods, but we'll see them later. Right now, these are all top 3 methods which you should know. Is that clear, everyone? What is the flow? When you start your application, you always start with index.html, which starts with creating a view object. This is a class which you will call to create a view object and give it to UI5. UI5 will now start creating first the view object. In first step, it creates the view object and calls the method called get controller name of the view. View returns the address of the controller. And now in step 2, UI5 will go and it will call the step number 2, the creation of controller object, because it has now got the address of the controller. It creates the controller object. The controller object, once it's created, after that it calls the onInit method of the controller. And then once the controller object is available, system passes this or UI5 passes this controller object to the third method of the view called create content method. So these are all the sequence of calls of methods which takes place when the application starts. Okay.
Anubhav,
Yes, please.
how did UI5 know that this is a JS view?
I'm coming to that. I'm just coming to that. So that's something I have not yet shown in the system. I'm just showing you the flow so that when we go to the system, you don't get confused. But everything you will get to know in a minute when I'll start writing code. But before that, another important thing. Watch out, watch out. Address. See here, address. If you want to drop a letter to somebody, what do you need? If you want to call someone, what do you need? Anyone. If you want to drop a letter to somebody, you need address. If you want to call somebody, you need address. What is that address? Mobile number is that address, right? If you want to fax someone, you need the address, which is the mobile number or the fax number, right? If you want to send an email, you need email address, right, guys? You need address. Similarly, UI5 also need address. address of your view, address of your controller, address of every single thing which UI5 needs to talk to. How do you tell the address to the UI5? So guys, typically when we're creating an application using UI5 or anywhere, anytime you're creating any project, you will have a main folder, project folder I call it as. Inside this project folder, you will have typically a web app folder like this. This is your web app folder. And this web app folder has your index HTML file. Okay. This web app folder is having your index HTML file. Now suppose you want to refer to a file which is somewhere here. So there is a folder called Anubhav. Inside this folder there is another folder called, let's say, Sonal. Inside that there is another file, let's say, called Rashi.css. So watch out here. There is actually a deep structure here. There is a folder called Anubhav. Inside the folder there is a folder called Sonal. Inside that there is a file called Rashi.css. Are you guys clear? So this is a folder. I'll just put it folder. This is a folder. Now this is a folder. Capital F is a folder, and this is a file. Okay. So this is how you have a folder structure now. Now guys, remember one important thing. All the folders will be part of web app folder because this is your web application representation. Your index HTML is also web app, direct children of web app. But other folders are like this. Now, watch out. This is the most important concept of UI5. Can you tell me the index HTML is part of which folder? By looking at this diagram, can you tell me index HTML is part of which folder? Web app folder. Unanimous answer. Everybody is correct. Web app folder. Now, if you want to represent current working directory, let me write down. If we want to represent the current working directory in a computer, how we do that? Anyone? How do you represent current working directory of your computer? Anybody? You will use something called dot slash. Dot slash means current working directory. Is this clear, everybody? What do you use to represent current working directory of your computer? Is this clear, everyone? What do you use to represent current working directory of your company, current directory, current working directory of your computer? Is this clear? If we want to represent the parent directory of current working directory or folder, whatever directory is a folder, how do you represent? Anyone? What is represented by current working directory? First of all, it's dot slash. Yeah, dot slash is your current working directory. How do you go to parent? Double dot slash. Is this clear? Now, if I say what will be the parent directory, how will you represent? Anyone? Current working directory, parent, how do you represent? You will again put dot slash. Dot slash. Dot. So more up you want to go, you keep putting dot slash, it will keep on going to upper working directory. Is this clear, guys? How to represent a working directory in a computer system? Current working directory is dot slash. Dot slash, when you add, it means it's parent. Then further dot slash parents, like that you can go. So in index HTML, if I want to represent the web app folder, what will be my path for directory. In index HTML, if I want to represent current working directory, which is web app folder, what will be the path? It will be dot slash. You all are right. So now, rather than putting this dot slash, dot slash and all that, which is confusing every moment, I will give a name to it. Okay. I will say my current working directory, which is web app folder here, dot slash. I will give a naming to it. Okay. I will give a name and I will name it, let's say, Iron Man. I will say, hey, my current working directory dot slash of index HTML file, which is web app folder, is named as Iron Man. Is that clear, everybody? Am I clear to everyone? I am, rather than using dot slash, I am using a name which is easy for me to refer to the web app folder. So whenever I want to reference to web app folder, I will always use Iron Man rather than using this dot slash, dot slash, dot slash, dot slash and all that. Is that clear? Yes or no? Is this part clear, everybody? Yes or no? Rather than representing the current working directory with dot slash, dot slash and all, I am saying, hey, my index HTML current working directory is dot slash and please represent that with Iron Man. That's what I'm writing. And now when we do that, this is called namespace. Are you clear, guys? What is a namespace? What is your project namespace now? It's Iron Man, which means it's a representation of the web app folder, the parent folder of all the files. What is a namespace? If somebody asks you in interview, usually they don't ask, but let's note down. Namespace is the representation of root folder of your application, under which all the artifacts like views, controllers, files, CSS, JS, etc. will be stored. The path, the address of each file will be with reference of this namespace only. So now let me ask you one question. I will see who has understood this question, who has understood this namespace concept. Can you tell me the address of Rashi? Can you tell me the address of Rashi? Can you tell me the address of Rashi with respect to my super folder? Can you tell me address of Rashi? Let's see who can answer me. So the address here is web app folder, always with namespace. What is the web app folder named here? Anyone? What is the name of web app folder we have given? What is the name of web app folder we have given? What is the name? Iron Man we have given. So Iron Man dot Anubhav dot Sonali or Sonal dot Raj. Are you clear, guys? What is the address of the Rashi.css? It's Iron Man, which is your namespace dot Anubhav. Remember, folder name is important. It's if it is capital, you should use capital. Sonal dot Rush.css. Is this clear, everybody? How to make the path or address of a file? If this is clear, you have understood MVC architecture 80%. If these two slides are clear to you, 80% you have understood the complete application development SAP UI5. Next question to all of you. Let's see who all can answer. Let's do one more exercise. Now, suppose if I want to address a file which is kept here, and I name this file as demo.view.js. It is a JavaScript view. Okay, that's why .js at the end. This also answer your question. How do we know it's a JS view? Because extension is .js. So it's a JavaScript view. And now let me put it here. Can you tell me now the address of this view? Please tell me the address of the view Anyone who will tell me it is Iron Man dot, which is the root folder, web app folder, always starts with namespace, ironman dot anubhav folder dot demo dot view dot js. And now guys, one important another fundafox for you. We usually for view.js, this is already understood that it's a view. So we don't add this view.js at the end. Okay. We just give the address as this much. Is this clear? Because we know already system knows that it's a view. By its extension, system will get to know it's a view. So we don't have to add extra the view.js at the end. Is this clear everybody? We just have to put ironman dot the address, this namespace dot the address of the view. Is this clear? Yes or no? We don't have to put that's I'm making it simplify for you. You don't have to put its extension every time. I'm simplifying it for you. Okay. Similarly, Rashi CSS, we don't have to put extension. Keep it calm, keep it extension free. Okay. Keep it extension free. Okay. Here the file will have extension. When you create the file, you see this has extensions. So this you should not avoid. This you must keep. But when you are giving its address, okay, we are preparing its address, guys. This address when you are preparing, you don't have to put extension. Am I clear? Am I clear now? The address will not have extension. Address will be so like when you're writing an email, you don't have to address the person with its name, with its surname not necessarily, right? You can call with the first name. So this is the first name only with which we are addressing the guy. We don't need its extension at this point. कभी ऐसा नहीं लिखोगे कि supervisor Mr. Raman Kumar. You never write, right? Supervisor engineer Mr. Raman Kumar. You clerk Mr. You don't give its extension. You don't give its really what the purpose. You will give always just the name. Okay. In old days they used to write, engineer, super engineer, this guy, sub inspector Mr. Rahul Patra, like that they used to write. We don't have to do that. You can say, hey Mr. Rahul, that's it. This is how you got to write. Let's move on and now create our first MVC application. Like we did yesterday's class, we just created our first index HTML, and now I'm going to convert this application to an MVC application, moving this code. So we will be using same example, creating one button, but with MVC. So I'm going to come back, right click on the folder, new folder. So let's create our first project folder on the top. Guys, don't miss these steps. Please, I request you follow these steps as it is. First time when you're doing your R&D, you can keep it later. You can do R&D later. First, your goal should be to get this output. Okay. R&D you can do little later. First, your goal has to be to get this output. Okay. So now let's create a project folder, and I will name this project folder as my MVC app. My MVC day. What is my MVC day? Okay, there's another one. I'll just delete this. It will confuse you. So my MVC day I've got, and inside this, what will I do? Anyone? Yesterday I told you one important funda, Fox. What will I do? Do you start creating all the files directly inside this? No, you create a web app folder. Very good point. Just create a web app folder. I've created that. Nice. And now right click on web app folder and choose new SAP UI5 view. Now, many of you will not get this option, those who are using Cloud Web IDE. If you are using by any chance SAP Full Stack Web IDE into the HANA trial in the SAP Cloud platform, you may not get this option, and the reason being your project type is not yet selected. So you got to go to right click, project settings. Okay, in the project settings you will come here to project types, and here you have to select the project type as SAP Fiori. Make sure that your project type is selected here as SAP Fiori and save the setting. If you don't do that, you will not get that view option. Okay, clear everyone? Some of you will come back saying, Anubhav, I don't see that right click view option, create view option. This is the reason, because your project type is not selected. On the right click on the main folder, project setting and select it as view type, SAP UI5 project. And now
Hey,
let's,
can
yes,
you
please.
show it once more? Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt.
let's try once again. So right click this project setting, you see. Do you see this project setting? Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah.
Click on that. Now, do you see this checkbox or not?
Okay.
Check that out. Do you see the save button? Just save that.
Okay.
Huh?
Got it.
Please do that so that you will see the view option. Otherwise, you may not see that view option. Right click on the web app folder, not on the main folder now because everything should be inside web app. Right click in there. Let's create our index HTML first of all. So I'm going to create an index HTML and I'll say index HTML. That's my launching pad for my application. Type, never copy paste the code, guys. And HTML, and then we have header, and voila. Let's create a body. Nice. I'm just going to create a div element with an ID is, let's name it as content, and let's as well give a class name here for SAP UI body to get that nice background. And let's go to the header. Let's invoke src script tag. I'm going to say src equals to https sapui5.hana.ondemand.com /resources /SAP courses. I hope you all know what is the meaning of this line now. And then we'll say data SAP UI libs. Please load mobile library for me. Data SAP UI. Please load SAP Blue Crystal for me. And then we will give another important property. This is what I was talking about, the namespace. You have to give your namespace here, guys. You have to tell what is the, you are basically giving, like every time there is a newborn baby in your family, what do? You do a naming ceremony, right? So this is the naming ceremony you have to do here for that guy. Okay, so this is a newborn baby. You got to tell the system, hey, my index HTML belongs to a working directory which is web app at this point. This working directory name I am giving here. Clear, everybody? That's what we are exactly doing. How do you do that? Data SAP UI resource roots. This is exactly what you have to type. Exactly. You got to give a JSON. So put single quote. Inside the single quote, you have to put your JSON curly braces and then put double quote, colon, double quote. And you will give now the name Iron Man. You can give anything, your choice, guys, your choice. You can give anything. And dot slash. Is this clear, everybody? How do I give namespace to my project root directory? Tell the UI5, hey, every single resource which you will look forward in future, views, controllers, everything is part of Iron Man, is part of my current working directory of index.html, which is web folder, and they all will be part of web folder. And address of those files and folders will be given accordingly. Clear, everyone? Is this clear to everyone? How do you give the name? Is this clear, everyone? How do you give namespace to SAP Wi-Fi resources which are going to come in your project? This is the most important.
Anubhav, can you repeat
I have
again,
one
please?
question here.
Okay, let's repeat again. As we go back, we have just saw. Is this slide clear to you? Is this slide
Yeah.
clear to you?
Yes.
Yes. So look at here in index HTML file, we were saying dot slash means current working directory, which is web app. So we have given a name to this working directory, which is web app folder Iron Man in index HTML. So how do you give? How do you tell UI5 framework, hey UI5, whenever you want address of my files and folders, because I will be soon giving UI5, telling UI5, hey UI5, can you create object of my view? Can you create object of my view UI5? So what you need to pass? You need to pass address of the view where the view is, right? So how do you tell the address of the view? So for that reason, we are giving a name to our web app folder. This folder we are giving a name. How do you tell UI5 what is the name of your web app folder? Which is nothing but called namespace. We will say data SAP UI resource routes. This is a syntax. Tell UI5, hey UI5, my current working directory of index.html. Dot slash means current working directory of index.html. What is the current working directory of index.html? It is web app. So I'm saying, hey UI5, my current working directory, which is in this case will be web app, of course, will be named as Iron Man. Is this clear now to everyone? Please answer in
Yeah.
chat window when you don't understand so
Yes,
that
yes.
I can take it up then and there. Okay.
Anubhav, is the
Because
naming
after we
convention
move
will
on,
happen?
if you ask Anubhav, I did not understand, I have to go all the way back. You can write web app also, no problem. Here you can give any name of your choice. You can write web app, Conta, Mario, anything, Superman, Spider-Man, it's your choice. Okay. It's your choice. Single quote you must use because we are using double quote inside. This is the reason you have to use single quote. It's a JSON format we are passing. That's why we have to use like this single quote surrounded with this. Inside we are using double quote. That's the reason there should be surrounded by single quote. Okay. This is the reason.
Anubhav, any naming convention?
That's what naming convention will be. This will become the naming convention. So usually here, what naming convention we follow, I got your point. Usually it will, how will we give this name? This name will be given as your company name, dot your team name, dot product name. Okay, this is the naming convention we usually follow in real world. So if I'm working with IBM, so I will give IBM dot finance department dot account receivable. Is this clear? This is how the naming convention is typically given. Okay, this is how we give. I did not want to give a heavy dose of antibiotic. That's why I keep it simple. Spider-Man or Superman, whatever you wish, you can give. Okay, I give Spider-Man. Because if I start putting those things, those naming convention, people will get confused easily. Okay. So it's basically an address to your local folder, web app folder. That's it, which is current working directory of index.html. Now imagine this web app folder is part of another folder. This index.html is part of some other folder. There is some other folder. Your index.html is actually part of it. Yeah, here it is. Then the path will change. The path will become dot dot slash, which means current working directory of index.html, which is sdjk whatever, and on top of it there is a web app folder. Uska path dena hai mere ko. So it will become like this. Is this clear, guys? How the folder structure is changing here based on your needs. So basically, idea is to give this marking this folder as the root folder of your app. That's the whole idea. This will be the root folder of your app. No matter where your index.html, you got to accordingly use this path. Believe me, 60% mistakes, bugs which I see usually comes because of this. When your file is not loading, anytime you see an issue with file not loading, file view not found, controller not found, it's 60% issues are because of this. Because you have not used the proper way of doing it. Let me delete to not make it more complicated for you, keeping it simple. So just deleted that. And now your index.html dot slash current working directory is Spider-Man. And let's move on now. Let's right click on the web app folder, right click and say new. I want to create a SAP UI5 view. And let's choose it as right now JavaScript view. And I'll give the namespace. Voila! Can you see namespace? अभी जाना पहचाना किधर तो देखा इसको. क्या नाम है? What is the namespace of your folder, guys? Anyone? What is the namespace we have given just now? Who will tell me what's the namespace? Perfect answer. Now you understand what is the namespace concept. This is the most powerful concept of UI5. S has to be small because I've given S small there. Okay, JavaScript is case sensitive. Yes, I changed it to Spider-Man, not Iron Man anymore. Okay. You want to keep Iron Man? No problem. Iron Man you can keep, no problem. We'll change it later. Now I'll give the view name. I say view 1 and I click on next. And I say finish. Done. Congratulations. You can see a view folder and a controller folder got created. Let's change it also Iron Man here. You can see a view folder and a controller folder is created. Let's get inside the view. Do you remember what are all the methods of a view? The first method coming get controller name, which is just returning the address of the controller. Can you see the address? It's built automatically. It's based on ironman.controller.view1. That's the name of your controller. You see? Don't confuse guys. Here the controller name and view name is same. So don't confuse, but you see the address of the controller. It's with your namespace ironman.controller.view1. Is this clear? So it's the UI5. It's returning to the UI5 the address of your controller in the first method which I showed you on the slide. So UI5 will call this method. It gets the controller name, and now UI5 creates the controller object. Okay, once this controller object is created, it calls the init method of your controller, and then it calls the create content method of your view. You see, it's calling now the views create content method. Clear everybody? And here probably what I'll do now, right now remove all this code. Remove all this code. We don't want that. I'm going to create now my button here. So var again, just yesterday we written some code, same code exactly, and put it here. New sap.button. Let's put an ID of curly braces, and I'll say here my button text. This is my MVC button, whatever you want to name, and return this button object out. Is this clear, everyone? Whatever code you've written to create the elements, UI elements, that goes now inside the view. So your UI element, remember input, output, processing, and data. So this is your input, output, your user interface element. It goes inside the view. Okay. Right now, I'm not discussing about controller. Let's go ahead and test this much. Okay. Let me also put a function directly over here. And I'll say alert. Welcome to the view. I just put alert up. It's giving a red, but that's okay. You can continue still, not a problem, because it's giving an alert because of this guy. This gentleman is creating a problem. If I remove this, still it has an alert. Something is wrong. I got it. It's the press. This press event handler, guys. That was the wrong thing. Okay, press. So now save this up. You see the red mark is gone. Web ID will help you like this. If you do syntax issues, syntax errors, Web ID will help you like this. I just save this up, and let me just go ahead and execute this up now. Okay. Now let's execute this up. So I'll just come to the my MVC day 1, and let's click on run, and let's see what happens. It comes a blue screen. That's pretty good. But why it is not showing me my button object? Can you tell me what should you do in this case? Right click, inspect the DOM. Console is your best friend. Let's see what's something wrong. There's no error as such. This app cache busted, this is usual, which is we can conveniently ignore, not a big problem, but it's not displaying the button. Guys, the reason being not showing the button is we should also return a standard object called app object. Right now, let's take it as it is. Let's not get into deep into it, why we need, what is the purpose. But there is also I would just tell you, there is also an object which is mandatory called app object, which you should create and return. You should always return an app object. So I say var o app, new sap.app. Inside this app object, we have pages object. Okay. Inside these pages, we should also return a page object. As part of page, you will have your button. This is one important thing You just right now by heart it as it is. So we must return an app object which has a page object, and page object should have your UI elements. I think this is also not mandatory right now. Let me right now not do it. I'll comment it out. This we will see even later. I got the reason why it's not coming. Can you guess what is the reason why my button is not displayed on the UI? Anyone? No. Some of you are partially correct. We have not created the view object. See here. Did we even create the view object to display it? No, we just loaded the UI5 framework. We just created the body. We have not created our view object. सपना थोड़ी आएगा उसको, अपने आप थोड़ी बनेगा सब कुछ. Your view is created, but view object is not created yet. You got to create your view object and place that in the DOM. Place that in the DOM. Let's create a script tag. Let's create the view object var o view equals to new SAP UI view. And now here you got to give the
Anubhav can't hear you.
Yes, Anubhav, we can't hear you.
Anubhav, we can't hear you.
So let me ask you one question now. Very interesting question. Who will tell me? So we have created now, we have to create view object until we display the UI element. To display that, we have to create the view object and we have to put the ID of the view, which is optional. We have to give the type of the view. It's a JavaScript view. This was one question from one of you. Anubhav, how do we tell the view type? And then coming the view name, here you have to give the full address of the view. So who will tell me what is the address of my view? Anyone? It's Ironman dot view folder dot view one. Is this clear, everybody? The power of namespace. This is the top most important concept of entire class. Namespace. Ironman dot view one. Watch out, it's case sensitive. कभी कभी लोग जाएंगे यहाँ पे व्यू वीक कैपिटल कर देंगे, then they will come, Anubhav, it's not working. What will happen if you do wrong path? You will see it in a minute. So let me give an ID, something whatever I wish. I can give view one, ID view one, whatever I like. And now I'm going to place this view in the DOM. So I'll say view place at in the content area. That's what we've been doing. Just place this element into the body of HTML. Yeah, that's what we did. And now watch out, guys. I have given intentionally the wrong path. Can you guess what is wrong here? Can you guess what is wrong here? Intentionally, I've given the wrong path. V is capital. Watch out. Come back, press F12 and check console. Clear the console first and refresh. And can you see this dot create content is not a function? Can you see? Some kind of weird error is coming. This dot create content is not a function. Can you see that? That's because your view address is not found properly. System can't found your view. Let's come back, put the small v, save this up, come back and refresh. Voila, there you go. Can you see? The view button is now coming up on your UI. So this is how some kind of weird errors will come in console. They will not be exact errors. इसीलिए तो UI5 consultant चाहिए company को. Agar if a 10th or 12th or senior secondary graduate can do these things, a college student can do these things, then what is the need? Who will give you the package? Who will give you millions of package? No one, right? That's the reason companies need experts like us in SAP UI5 and Fiori, who knows just by looking at the console errors we can find out where is the problem. This is why engineers are required for this job, not a college, not a school student, not a college student. This is why engineers are required. So you may think अनुभव बहुत टफ है, इसी का तो पैसा मिल रहा है, टफ है तो for this reason only you are getting paid off. अगर tough नहीं होता तो anybody could do. Even a beggar on the road can do this. They will earn a good package, right? Even a beggar can do it. Even a non-studied guy can do it. Why engineers are required for this job? Because we are here to solve the problem for big companies, and that's the reason companies are paying out. Save this up. That's how you create. Congratulations on your first MVC application. This one is right now out of context. I'll remove this code right now. Forget about that code. I was just confused. I didn't create the view object. Is this clear, everybody? And now it's you to free to do R&D. R&D पहले जब करना जब पहले output आ जाए. Your first output should come, then you do your R&D. Don't do your R&D from first day. What happens? Student usually they start creating the view from the first class itself. Without getting the first output, they start doing R&D, and then they say no, not working. How will it work? You started R&D before learning. R&D should be done after learning. Now you do R&D. Now make this view capital, change this view path to wrong path, and see what happens. So you can now do R&D as much as you want. So let's come back, refresh. You'll see some other error will come. This is your R&D. You can do it later. So now see another error have come. It could not find an Iron Man view ID view. It could not load. See, not loading. Failed to load this view. Very oftenly this error comes. This is the reason. Your path, your address is incorrect. Something is wrong is in your address. Which is wrong is this D is extra. Your view address is this. Clear, everybody? I hope you understood today's class. Very important class to create first MVC application. In tomorrow's class, we will go and see the flow. We will also talk about how to create this controller manually. Right now, it's a generated one. I am not interested in generated one. I'm believer of writing every single line of code one by one rather than generating, so that we understand the meaning of it and then generate, and then copy paste, so that we can speed up our development. Very important class. Monday is tomorrow for us. It's a weekday session, so Monday is tomorrow for us. Tomorrow is not tomorrow, actually it's Monday for us. Okay, Sunday evening for most of you. So exercise for all of you, what you guys have to do, I will give a hint also for today's exercise. You have to design an input field, design a view which is JS view. Right now we only talked about JS view, don't get into XML views right now. Design a JS view with one input field and one button. When we click on input field, when we click on button, whatever name you like you can give the labels. When you click on the button, the data entered in input field should come in a pop-up, alert pop-up. Hint, you can use control as sap.m.input. This is the control class you can use to create an input field. Okay, is that clear? That's an exercise for all of you. Weekend is here. Utilize your time properly. Utilize your time properly. Take best use of this weekend and cover up everything which has been missed out, spillover of last week. I understand you must be extremely busy with your work and company's work. एक चीज याद रखना, जो ज्यादा करता है उससे ज्यादा करवाया भी जाता है. What does it mean? It means in English, the person who do more, people let him get do more. People misuse you. If you doing more work in your company, your manager will misuse. करो, बैठ के करते रहो 18 घंटे तक, उसका क्या जा रहा है घर का, वो तो आराम से जाएगा गाड़ी में बैठ के घर पे. So people who do more in the company, your company will try to get more from you. Just understand that. So in the same salary, you are giving more. Why? Spare some time on your self learning, guys. Spare some time on your self learning. And once you learn, try to do more, no problem. Who is stopping you? Try to do more and more in UI5 Fiori. Rather than right now doing more and more on ABAP part, try to do more and more on UI5 Fiori part later on once you learn. So spare some time for your self development and self learning rather than being a puppet and doing and following orders every time. Nobody will care, guys. They will start using you. You are just being used. You're doing more, which means you are being used. I am not giving a lesson that don't do hard work. Do hard work. But my main intention to say this is please spare some time for yourself. Your own time. उसमें पढ़ाई करो, चाहे खेलो, चाहे sports करो. Either you spend time with family or you do enjoyment or whatever you do, it's your time. Okay, because more you do, more they will expect from you. They will start using you. So don't become a puppet. Do hard work, show the company at right time. When the time comes, do more hard work, stay back in office when the time comes. Unnecessarily every single day you're sitting in office late night, late evening hours and doing hard work and trying to deliver extra in hope of getting something. Believe me, it will not work out. So spend some time every day on these learnings, what you are doing. These learnings will take you forward. Whatever work you are already expert on, you are just repeating that existing work and thinking you are doing hard work is not going to help you. You are just repeating yourself. Repetitive work is not going to help you for growing in future. Learning new things and going ahead, that will help you guys. That's much needed. Thank you so much. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. Any questions? Last two questions, we can take it up.
I know
Hey,
the flow explanation is planned in next session. The one which you explained in the PPT in the
yes, this
program.
we will discuss. This is already covered. If you just come and check, this is already covered. So if you just come and check, put a console statement here, console.log, and just put which method is called get controller name was called. And now you can actually just check the console just by sitting idly and check the console कि क्या हो रहा है, किस order में क्या call हो रहा है. Just put here, and this one is create content. So I want to observe in which order which one is called. Yeah, that's really important for me, right? So I'll just come back and I just refresh once again our app and watch out, watch out. So you will see now get controller name was called first in the order and then create content was called. So that's the flow. This is how I found out the flow and showed it to you on the PPT. On in it we will discuss in the next class. How to create this controller we will see in the next class. Currently the controller got generated automatically. We don't want it. I will trash it out. I will remove this and I will manually create, because right now this line is very tricky for you. You guys do not understand what's going here, right? This is called scaffolding template. We will discuss that in the next class. We will write the scaffolding template syntax and we will build it from scratch. No copy paste of code. Never do a copy paste. If you're doing copy paste, you're not my student. And will never learn from somebody who is teaching you copy paste. They are cheating you and you are being cheated with copy paste. Never learn from copy paste trainers. Any other questions?
And about similarly, I think I'm not clear with that. So you just showed that on view statement, there's on the view file, there's a statement that we won't be clear about, right? Similarly, I'm not clear on many of the other statements as well. Like for example, why do we need play set and things like that? So should I be reading that by myself, or will that be covered later?
So place at basically what happens, if you remember our first demo session, place at method, what it does, it will place your view object into the body of HTML. You remember the funda fox, whatever you put in the body is what users see. So when you create a view object, this view will not be visible to the user until or unless it's part of your body of DOM. Until it's part of DOM, it will not be visible to the user. That's why we are doing playset to place it into the DOM. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
So where
But
can I
where is
find the
this
syntax?
method coming from? This we will discuss in upcoming days.
Okay.
How can you check where is this method? कहाँ से आ रहा है? Where is the origination? So like origination of Ganga is from Kailash Parvat, right? From Gangotri. Similarly, where is the origin of this gentleman? Where it is coming from, we will see. Because if you know the origin of something, you can go to the roots and you can see how things are being managed. So understanding roots is very important. That is what we will work about on our trainings. We will target roots in our training so that we get the complete depth understanding about the framework. Agar framework samajh gaye to nobody can stop you creating any control in UI5. Sometimes trainings are always, if you see corporate trainer, their trainings are oriented towards control. 5 control सिखा दूंगा: button, label, input, drop down, checkbox. So you will also get into mode of learning only controls. But if you understand the framework, game is over. Tomorrow new control comes, you can code. Any control you can code if you understand framework. So we will target to understand framework rather than controls. Just controls we will not focus. We will focus on framework. So there are a lot of chapters planned in future on framework topics. So you'll understand framework in deep.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
That time we'll cover it. Hope, yes, there is something pending on this. We will discuss that. Cool. All right, that's the wrap on today's class. See you tomorrow. Sorry for delay today. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Enjoy the week.